that, oh, okay. So, hi, here we are at the, uh, so like all I wanted to, so what I was saying was that culture has gotten to a point now to where it's almost like we're numb to the idea of courage, kind of like we are numb to violence, maybe, or numb to pornography, or numb to people just kind of doing unethical things in business to get ahead. Like it's just the status quo. It's the way things go. And what I mean, how I mean that with regard to courage is, courage is something we see on this big screen now. It's something that we hear stories about. It's always other. It's always someone else. It's those people in the military. It's those people, it's those autobiographical stories or documentaries. It's always outside of individuals, and never with the individuals. Individuals have a hard time understanding what is courageous when something isn't blowing up, or people aren't dying, or like in, I guess when I talk in Bible study, sometimes I talk about the mundane Christian life, and it's that day-to-day, the routine, the thing that seems boring. We never read about that stuff in the Bible. Bible's full of highlights, and we only get allusion to those, the mundaneness or the boring parts. We get a little window that we get to peek into, but the boring part isn't highlighted. It's the boring in between the highlights that we all live in every day. And I think that in order to have the highlighted part of your life, you have to show courage. You have to show all those little character attributes and virtues and everything in little tiny ways along the way. And then when you get a big moment, you've been prepared all along the way for that big moment. And then everybody remembers the big moment. But nobody remembers what it took to get to that moment. And that's what I think that we need to talk about a lot with people. We need to get people realizing, when we've talked about the political correctness and changing language and calling, allowing people to call themselves genders that they're not.
Oh, so this is the topic now, is gender.
It's all of it.
We're going with everything.
No, it's language. The courage is with language. So it's all of it.
Okay.
Right. I'm not trying to single out any one topic at this point, other than just
language. Well, I think it's good to have something where you can land it.
Yeah.
So that people know, okay, so we're talking about courage. Obviously, courage is always important, but
it's almost like among white people, I think even still, but I remember all growing up, it was almost it was a little trepidatious to call my Black friends Black. I would just avoid, I learned that I needed to just avoid using color profiles.
Why was that?
Because it was always some teacher. No, it was always some teacher or some other peer that wasn't Black saying, you can't say that. You can't call him Black. It's almost like you can't acknowledge the truth because we're all trying to avoid the fact that we're different.
Well,
but we're different.
Well, okay, but the issue of what word you use is still there.
True.
Like, okay, someone might be fat, for example.
Right.
But you don't say my fat friend and expect, to have the same relationship, right?
Right.
You're so the words we use, there's we get into patterns of speech and we don't oftentimes, not me, but because I'm weird, but that's why I don't have any friends, is because everybody else does this apparently. you're supposed to apparently get into patterns of speech and not be very reflective about those patterns of speech. And then the rules change all of a sudden. And, like you're saying, black, well, it used to be colored people.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden the rule changed and it's now people of color, right?
Right.
Which is
Right.
grammatically a little different, right?
And
It's
last time, not to
it's a
mention,
prepositional phrase, right? Of. So, but you put the adjective in front of the noun for white people or black
which
people,
which is a
but you
which
can't
is
do it for red. You can't say red. So it's like once your mind starts getting the pattern, there's some arbitrary weird rule and you can't
right.
figure it out. You can't say yellow. You couldn't say, but white and black, that's fine. Oh yeah. Any other so color really means what does color mean? You can't go by the Crayola crayon box. You
The
someone made
box
up
of
some rule that it's
the
brown
box
and
of
black
colors, the
and
box of
white.
colors. Yeah.
Only those, but not none of the other colors, right?
Right.
Maybe tan, but it's like that's what always drives me nuts is I always look for patterns. Maybe I'm artistic, I'm an artistic savant, or maybe I have Asperger's or something like that, but it just annoys the hell out of me.
Oh, here's a real story. Here's a real story that happened to me when I was working for the small business administration. That we were had a meeting on the college campus there, and it was a staff meeting. And
this is in Texas, right?
this is in Texas. Yeah.
Okay.
And we were doing some like icebreaker, and this was in the Zoom era, right? When everyone was new to Zoom because of the Wuhan flu and all this stuff, right? So
Well, we're on Zoom right now, so I guess we're still in that era.
True. We're carrying on the era on, but it was all new to everybody, and we were trying stuff, and so they tried an icebreaker, and we had to come up with a word for different categories, but they all had to start with in. So we were given all these categories, and then we had to come up with something in that category that started with the letter in. That was the icebreaker. And so everybody went, and then we shared the answers. Well, we got to color, ironically.
Why is that ironic?
Well, in light of our conversation. And then the lady, lady,
I think you mean auspiciously,
perhaps. The lady says, for her answer, she says nude. The color nude, right? It's actually a color. It's in the. It might be in. I don't know if it's in the crayon box, but it's in a. It's in
I highly doubt it.
Yeah,
but
probably not.
With all the new pronouns and stuff, maybe they put that in there because they really, what they really want.
You never
with these
know.
Kids. You know what they really want with the kids.
But so here's what happened. It all went on, and then all of a sudden there was this lull, and then all of a sudden this black lady comes on and says, I would just like to say,
person of black. You gotta put the color after the of.
Oh, okay. So this black lady comes on.
I'm Rain Man, you're Tom Cruise.
And she says, I feel it's important that I share, I was pretty offended by you citing the color nude as a color, like, because you're assuming that that's your skin color. That's not my color when I'm nude, right? That was her objection.
Yeah.
And so now names of colors are racist. I mean, it was just
well, you go from offended, which I was tracking you with you there, kind of. I don't know why that would be offensive to me. I mean, I just would say you're making an assumption there. I don't know why that has to be offensive.
Right.
People make assumptions all the time.
They do.
Right.
Yeah.
And so what she did was she made an assumption that you meant something bad by it, or you're some kind of nefarious
The
individual.
colleague. I didn't actually come up with
She
it.
made an assumption about you.
Right.
But
Yeah.
see, the funny thing is that we say stuff that's not true all the time. I've never seen a black person, to be honest with you. I've seen brown people. I've never seen a black person. And yes, I know what the term black means. I've never seen a white person. I do this
Right.
in class. I hold a piece of paper up next to my face. Do you see a difference? Do you see a difference between my shirt and my skin?
Right.
And this shirt is old. This is a Walmart cotton t-shirt I got like 10 years ago, dude. I'm telling you, it's more yellow than white at this point, especially under the armpits. But I've never seen. And then when there really is the color, you're not supposed to say it. Like, for example, I read a lot of American Indian history. I love American Indian history. For example, can you see this?
I see the engine,
Hmm.
but I don't see the words.
The Indians of West Texas. I don't know why it's not coming up.
Oh, cool.
The Indians of Texas.
Okay. There it is.
Well, they described themselves and other people described them as red. They appeared to have red skin.
Yeah.
That's how they appeared.
That's why they're Redskins.
That's why there was, so that's why there's this etiology of this term. And I'm just trying to keep track of our time here. So
That's why if you look
that,
at my face,
but let me finish the point here real quick. Is that, so there's some weird rule that if it offends somebody, even if it's accurate, even if the person does have red skin, and even if no one has black skin. So there's all these weird rules. How about this? How about this? We just describe the world. How about that? Whatever happened? See, we develop these patterns where we are not just allowed to describe the world, like the phenomenology, like I was talking about, because of some arbitrary rule. Okay, sorry, go ahead.
no, I was just going to point out. I mean, if you look at, I'm looking at the screen right now, and I'm looking at my face, and the white labels behind me on the picture behind me, and because I'm contrasted with the white, and maybe even the white in my beard, you can see the redness in my skin. I'm a redskin, right? I mean,
Well, when you get
that's
embarrassed,
well,
you get a sunburn.
no, it's true. It's
That's
true.
that is the color. That's the color.
When I get
It's that
dark,
you're colored. You're a
exactly,
person of color.
exactly.
You're excluded from color when there's a power interest that doesn't want to include you. It's the
Right.
same pattern. It's the same pattern of racism, and that drives me nuts that people cannot see it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
many people can't see it, and it drives me nuts even further that people don't feel like they can talk about it.
Well, and you'll always hear
Social
from the
consequences.
left people saying about how terrible it is that we're whitewashing culture, right? That culture is whitewashed. You hear the idea of things being whitewashed all the time, and yet when we remove names of sports teams like the Washington Redskins, or we take Aunt Jemima off of the
They did that. I didn't do it.
syrup bottle, or Uncle Ben off of the rice box, or Sambo's can't be a restaurant anymore. Well, what are we doing? We're talk about whitewashing. We're taking the color.
Is Sambo's gone now?
Oh, I think Sambo's has been gone for a long time.
How
I used
long?
to go to Sambo's after church on Sundays, back in Ontario, California. There was one right there off of the 10 freeway in Euclid, and then it became, I don't know, it became some other more appropriate, more whitewashed.
less than 20 years ago, because I went there after I moved to California
Oh wow.
in Santa Barbara.
Oh,
Santa
wow.
Barbara, Democrat Santa Barbara. It's entirely Democrat.
Wow,
Besides,
that's
besides
interesting.
a couple people like Dennis Miller, maybe, but even he's kind of a Democrat.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, I mean, there was a Sambo's there in Santa Barbara. This must have been 2000, early 2000s.
Hmm. Okay.
Schwarzenegger was governor at the time.
Maybe it's still there. I don't know. I haven't been to Santa Barbara for a while.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't been to Santa Barbara for a while
But my
either. I
point
got my
is
fill.
that the removal of these things, though, that's what's whitewashing things. Let's be reminded of the integratedness that we have had.
Well, I mean, it is a little tedious to keep track of all these ways we use language, and then when people stop using it a certain way and then they start using another way, there's no moral reason. There's no substantive moral reason, really. But
Right.
it's weird because people just, a lot of folks, mainly Democrats, I would say, I think it's pretty safe to say that, that start talking another way, and then they pound their chest and act like they feel great about it. They're this is what makes them so compassionate. So all these moral qualities, however you want to do it. I'm watching the show Billions. I'm not
Uh-huh.
sure if you've seen that show.
I haven't seen it. I've only heard of it.
There's a character whose first name in the show is the same as Hudson Taylor's last name.
Okay.
And she insists on being called they as the pronoun. And what's interesting about the show is it's very subtly political. Sometimes it's less subtle than other times, because it started when they thought that Hillary. But if you watch the show, it starts in 2016. You can tell they're shocked that Trump won. Like when you
Oh,
the next season in 2007, you could tell
right.
there's a reaction. There's subtle changes, and I keep track of this stuff. I notice this stuff. Well, what's interesting about the show in terms of the pronoun they for a person that wants to be called they is that she appears to be a girl to me. She appears to be a female or a woman. Now, I could be wrong, just like I could be wrong when I walk through the grocery store and I say she is standing in front of the eggs. I mean, I'm not going to ask her to drop trow, right? I mean, just it's just that's what the word means. The
Right.
word means that the pronoun means what it appears to you,
Right.
right? I mean, and even if she dropped trout, it'll still be appearance, right? I mean, I don't want to get too philosophical here, but you really, with clothes on, that's that's what the word has meant in English. We're not just making up English constantly, right? English goes way back. It's okay. It's okay to talk a language that goes way back. It's okay. That's how you get around in the world. But anyway, all of the characters in Billions just go along with this they thing, and it is some of the dialogue is so stilted because you can tell they're virtue signaling in the dialogue, and it's so it looks so fake, especially when the dialogue is in private and they're still doing the they thing for a singular. Now, sometimes we do use the term they when we don't know the gender. It's
There you
perfectly
go.
normal. Like if the neighbor, if you're telling me about the neighbor and I say, well, what did they say?
Right.
That's perfectly, but that's not because they the neighbor comes over and says, call me they. That's not why I use the term. It's because I don't know the gender. As soon as I know the gender, I use he or she, and I don't use it. If they came over and said, say it, like let's say a group, let's keep it grammatically awkward, right? let's say like, like a platoon of people come over and say, call us it. No, I'm not going to call you plural it. It is singular. You can't, you're not going to just command me to make up a different language here as we go. That's not how it works with stuff like pronouns.
Yeah.
Anyway, but what's weird about that show Billions is you can just tell it's run by Democrats. It's written by Democrats. You can just tell. But it's like, that's the one issue. That's almost like the religious issue that they're stuck on, is this Hudson Taylor lady. It's okay. I mean, it's an okay show. It's enough for me to watch it. Well, I mean, be careful with kids around.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, be careful. And there's some stuff they put in there they don't really need to put in there. But well, anyway, more about language.
Yeah. Yeah, I think a lot of it,
We have a few more minutes, just FYI.
A lot of things that are problems could be eliminated if people would just exemplify a little bit of courage with the language.
To bring it back, yeah.
Yeah.
The courage. So what would that look like, do you think? Like what I just said, like, no, you appear to me to be a she, so.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. It's hard to call you he when you look like a she,
or some of the other pronouns they're making up.
I think maybe Bruce Jenner is a good example.
Mm-hmm.
I tend to refer, if he wants to change his name, that's fine.
He did change his name.
Yeah.
I have no problem with calling someone their new name.
Sure. Yeah.
Because that naming function is, first of all, I don't have any control of that ever. I call you Curtis because who gave you that name? It was somebody else. It was your mom. That's typically who has the power. That typically who has the power, right? Your mom or your dad. Right.
Your mom.
So it gave you that name.
Sorry, every time you say your mom
says call me it.
I'm propelled back to junior high, when you're out on the playground and everybody's all your mom.
I feel really good about calling my mom it. That's what she insists on calling. She's an it. So, I just said she. Is it she it?
Oh, she it.
It's ridiculous, man. So yeah, I mean, but there's social consequences you have to think about.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what's courage look like? What if you're going to lose your job?
Those are the hard ones, right? I've got two friends that work at we'll just call it a multinational company that's based here in.
You had me at, you had two friends. I was like, who's the other one?
Right. Exactly.
Who the?
But they've been bought out by a larger woke company, and they're saying like literally every week they have a meeting, company-wide meeting on Zoom, and everybody gets and they're always
where they try to control you,
marching forward, advancing some new initiative, some new language, some new
trying to control how you talk,
mandate. Yep, how you talk
and how you think.
Yep. Yeah. And Democrats. These two friends of mine have not been vaccinated.
They're Democrats.
Right. These two friends of mine have not been vaccinated, and they're like, they're even still after the mandates are not like they've been erratic. Like, no, there's no mandate anymore. It can't be a mandate in private companies. It's been,
over 100
decided.
Employees. Yeah.
But that doesn't stop the companies. So
right.
If the company's big enough, they'll say, okay, we heard what the Supreme Court said, but we're going to do this anyway. And if you want to contest it, then you can sue us. Well, in the meantime, you've lost your job. You've lost they know what kind of power they wield. And this is, these guys are in the administration in the company. And so they know how the company works. They know how it works. And they're
Yeah.
like, we're already looking for other jobs. And that's what we'll have to do is we'll have to change jobs.
Mm.
It's a principle for them.
Wow.
I think that's why we're kind of going toward really needing to consider parallel economies. I think parallel economies is one of the things that can help.
Look up a friend of mine,
solve it.
Matthew Peterson.
Yeah, he's talked about this.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, I agree.
He talks about it privately on Facebook. I think he's talked about it publicly.
Yeah, he did an
He's
interview
on
with
record.
the Texas Policy Institute here. where
Oh,
he
that's
talked about
what it was. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. Okay, we'll
Yeah.
link that in we'll link this. We'll link
Yeah.
that. We're gonna remember.
Yeah, you can't get rid of entrepreneurs ever. You just can't.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's why we have anything you make illegal just goes into the black market, right? Some entrepreneur will take it
Market of color.
That's right. The market of
You're
color.
fired.
I was actually
The way
thinking
you
about
said that was problematic.
that, and I could lose my job if I was in that
You know, the
position.
way you said that was problematic.
I was talking with my dad this morning about the farmers, because one of our cousins sent us some stuff about my great grandfather and how he came over in 18 something and we were talking about rural living and urban living and the differences and all this and he had said, maybe he'd go back there and kind of get back in touch with his roots. There isn't much, he likes the rural stuff. There isn't much urban living in near the area in Minnesota where our family's from, or at least originally settled. But the idea that came up was the reason there's no businesses like in town. There might be a feed store or a diner or something like this, right? But that's about it. The reason there aren't a lot of businesses is because all those farms all throughout the region, they are the businesses, right? Everybody's a business owner. If you own a farm, that's your business. And there was a time when everybody that came over just about was an entrepreneur. They had to come to America was to have an entrepreneurial pursuit.
Right.
And just little by little over time, all that's been taken away and consolidated and put in the hands of a centralized authority. And the more people we get living in an area, I think the more we subject ourselves, or those people subject themselves to unnecessary laws and rules and all that.
That is a huge topic, rural versus urban politics.
Yeah.
And we're gonna have to save that for another time.
For sure.
One of the ways you see, yeah, we'll save that for another time. That is a huge issue. I don't want to even broach it right now. But preview of coming attractions. I think that the differences in for example, California gun laws.
Oh, sure.
That
Yeah.
have come out because of the urbanization of the California and the one person, one vote standard that changed in the 60s. We'll have to talk about that. That came from the Supreme Court. And I disagree with it. I think the court got it wrong. All right. Well, we'll talk to you tomorrow. More on courage.
All right. Sounds good.